It pains me to say this, but Doogie Howser is a fat-shaming jerk. He hates fat people. What is up, my brethren? This is Heckle TV. I am Jarvis Black. Thank you for coming back. I loved the TV show Doogie Howser when I was growing up. It came out when I was about 9 years old, and the idea that a teenager could be just as smart or smarter than their adult counterparts was super appealing to me. It was exciting. I tuned in every week to see a teenage genius outsmart adults. At the time, that's what I thought I was getting. Doogie Howser was less about a genius trying to outsmart adults and more about a kid just growing up and learning normal life lessons, and also how to keep a diary on your computer. So I recently started rewatching Doogie Howser on Hulu, and the show is definitely dated in a lot of ways, but I think overall most of the messages are pretty good ones. I haven't watched the series in its entirety. I just got to season 2, but there's one particular episode of season 1 that really stood out to me as odd. Every episode of Doogie Howser has a moral. Every episode ends with Doogie typing in his computer and logging in his journal the life lesson that he learned that episode. What struck me as particularly odd about this episode is that at the end of it, I don't feel like he actually learned anything. At least not the lesson I think he should have learned. So it's season 1, episode 9. It's called She Ain't Heavy, She's My Cousin. And in my opinion, it really doesn't hold up well. I understand the show came out in the late 80s. I get that. However, in rewatching most of season 1 and part of season 2, most of it still holds up pretty well. So the episode starts with Doogie and Vinnie getting ready for this double date. Doogie and his girlfriend Wanda have set up his best friend Vinnie with Wanda's cousin, and she's from Miami.
What if she's a dog? Would you stop? She's Wanda's cousin. How can she be a dog?
And he's super worried about impressing her.
Yvette. A name that's usually followed by the phrase live on stage. I owe you for this, Doog.
However, that excitement is quickly halted when the boys go down to the bottom of the steps and meet Wanda and her cousin, and Vinnie finds out that she's overweight.
So, this is my cousin, Yvette.
Oh, hi.
Now, Doogie's also surprised, but he plays it cool. Vinnie, however, noticeably winces in disgust. Like, did he think that nobody could see him? Doogie obviously saw it, and he wasn't even looking at him. He's standing right next to him. Like, it's so obvious that he's just completely disgusted because this woman is slightly overweight. It gets even worse when they're out on their double date. Doogie pulls Wanda aside and proceeds to completely fat shame her cousin for no reason whatsoever other than just to be a total prick.
Why didn't you tell me?
Tell you what?
That your cousin is a planet.
And he's like, you didn't tell me your cousin was a planet. And like Wanda kind of pulls back at first, but then she's like, yeah, I guess you're right to be upset with me because I didn't tell you that my cousin was overweight.
Okay, you're right.
And Doogie's like super pissed at her, like as though her cousin being overweight means that she wronged him somehow. Like it's just horrible and rude and just mean-spirited. Mr. Howser MD goes on to say how he's going to owe Vinnie for the rest of his life.
When we started out this evening, Vinnie owed me a favor. Now I owe him for the rest of my life.
The rest of his life, because Wanda's cousin is overweight. The rest of his genius years are going to be spent owing Vinnie because her cousin was slightly overweight and they introduced them. The whole thing is just really disgusting, especially coming from the main character of the show. The main character of the show hates fat people. For real. Like, he can't even be nice about it. He's comparing her to a planet that has its own orbit and moons. In this Doogie Howser universe, these people feel like fat people don't have as much value. Hence the I'm gonna owe Vinnie for the rest of my life. I mean, and if it's this bad, maybe that extends into the afterlife. Doogie's gonna owe Vinnie all the way into Hades. The show goes way out of its way to show us that Yvette has super low self-esteem. She says that her dates have never lasted longer than an hour.
Never had a date that lasted longer than an hour.
She also says that when she goes to the beach, that people declare her an endangered species.
I've never been to Florida, but I've seen pictures of the beaches. They look really nice.
I wouldn't know. The last time I showed up at the beach, they declared me an endangered species.
Firstly, I don't get the reference. When I think of an endangered species, I think of like an owl or a tiger. But I think that they're meaning to imply the image of like a whale, like a beached whale or something. Yeah, I guess it's supposed to be a joke, but frankly, it's not really very well written, kind of like the rest of the episode. It just kind of bothers me that they portray this woman as just having low self-esteem just because she's overweight. I get that that can impact your self-esteem, absolutely, but just being overweight doesn't automatically make you hate yourself, and it doesn't mean that you lack confidence. So I get what they're trying to say with this whole scenario, but the episode completely lacks any kind of tact while trying to do it. They're trying to show us a character who covers up their insecurities with a sense of humor. That's something a lot of us do. But the overarching implication that overweight people just inherently lack value is absurd. The other thing is the implication that she's never had a date last more than an hour. The idea that no one wants to date a person who's overweight is absolutely ridiculous. It's just not representative of the real world. The interesting part of this is that Vinnie actually finds himself having a really good time on the date with her, which is an interesting contrast to his absolute disgust with her at the very beginning. And he even comes to her defense when somebody else at the pool hall makes fun of her weight.
Whoa, major wide body. How many toilet seats you broken, Toots?
I heard that. Very funny, mallet head.
Vinnie, it's okay.
No, it's not okay. You're my date.
She's your date? You look more like her dinner.
He ends up smacking him in the nuts with one of the pool sticks. Vinnie wants credit for being a nice, non-judgmental guy, and he's really not. He's super disgusted by her. He shows that at the very beginning. And then when she asks him for a second date after they've had a great night.
Look, I hope I can see you again.
Sure.
When?
I don't know exactly. I have to check my schedule.
He cringes and tries to I'll have to check my schedule, make an excuse as to why he can't go on another date with her, and then finally agrees to it only after she goes, yeah, you're just like all the other guys.
I mean, it's okay. Most guys don't. I'm used to it.
Hey, it's not okay, okay? Just because most guys are cue balls doesn't mean I am. So how about like tomorrow night?
He agrees to another date with her, even though clearly doesn't want to and he's disgusted by her. That's like the issue. It's very important later on in the episode. There's two storylines in the episode itself, and I'm mostly focused on the treatment of Wanda's cousin Yvette. But the other story is about one of the patients at the hospital, and they create this juxtaposition where this other patient is thin but is completely unhappy with her body.
Looks like she's had a number of prior surgeries.
Yes. Breast augmentation, malar implants, rhinoplasty, abdominoplasty, mentoplasty, facelifts.
What's she in for now?
Liposuction.
She has body dysmorphia. She's had a ton of plastic surgery. She wants fat removed from her thighs, and there really isn't any.
This is the area where she has some excess subcutaneous fat.
But gobs of it.
And Doogie is really interested in this patient and what her motivation is and what is going on psychologically to drive her to want this.
I just don't understand it, Mom. This woman doesn't need all that surgery.
Obviously, they're doing this on purpose, and it's an interesting contrast between one person who wants to do something about their weight, even when they don't really need to, and someone who was overweight, but supposedly scared to do anything about it.
Well, all I know is it's a screwy world when someone like Yvette is scared to lose weight. And Curly Spalding, who's got a great body, is eating rabbit food just to lose 3 pounds.
I think they want to imply that neither of those situations are healthy, but they're very, very clumsy about the whole thing. And look, I understand that the world is a different place in 1989, and I'm not trying to say that being overweight is healthy. And look, I know that you might think that it's stupid to put that kind of pressure or label on a show and say that shows have a moral obligation to send the right message to its viewers when all they're doing is trying to create entertainment entertainment and sell advertising. But the difference is Doogie Howser created an environment where every episode of the show, the main character learns a very important life lesson, a valuable nugget of information that changes their perspective and shapes how they view the world for the rest of their lives. That's the precedent that Doogie Howser sets with every episode of the show. From that perspective, I do hold Doogie Howser to a higher moral standard. Wanda's cousin Yvette is on a second date at a drive-in movie theater with Vinnie.
Oh, look, you're back just in time.
They create a scenario where there's a complete and total misunderstanding because Vinnie wants to actually watch the movie.
You mean you're actually gonna watch the movie?
Sure, of course, this is the fly.
And she thinks they're there to make out.
This is a drive-in. You don't bring someone to a drive-in to look at that.
Which is, I think, a totally reasonable expectation of a teenager on a date at a drive-in movie theater. The scene ends with them arguing, her getting upset, and leaving the movie theater. The show tries to imply that Vinnie innocently wanted to watch the movie.
I came here because it's the only place they'll show on the fly.
And that all of her insecurities are what perpetuated the argument and her leaving.
I'm getting out of here. I don't need any more of this.
But frankly, I completely disagree. I think Vinnie was a total jerk in this situation.
Hey, what's going on? The cramp in my lungs. I can't breathe.
All right, make a fat joke.
And look, it's fine if they're trying to say that Vinnie just really likes watching movies. Look, he's on a date. You know how many dates I've been on where I did actually want to watch the movie, but I didn't because I was on a date. You can watch the movie some other time. Hang out with the girl, the boy, whatever that you're with. Pay attention to them. If you just wanted to sit there in the dark for 2 hours, you didn't need to be on a date. I call BS on this situation. Vinnie didn't really want to go on the second date in the first place. He's not attracted to her. He's disgusted by her. You can't convince me now at this point after you've shown me what you've shown me. Oh, he just innocently wants to watch the movie. Also, the camera shows her getting into the car and the car slumps slightly to one side. Did we need to see that? They're trying to be funny. They're trying to create a visual gag. Like, really? The car slumping down on one side because somebody's so fat? It's so funny. Vinnie didn't really want to be there with her. She keeps scooting closer to him, and he keeps scooting further and further away against the door until she's like squishing him against the door just to even be close. He can't even be close while he's watching the movie. So the show's trying to act like she misinterpreted this situation as rejection because of her insecurity. But it's not. It is rejection, and she knows that because she's seen it before. She saw it on his face the first time she met him. She saw it on his face when she asked him for the second date, and he cringed. And lastly, the comment about his lungs being squished or squeezed and not being able to breathe.
The cramp in my lungs. I can't breathe.
Is clearly a jab at her weight. And even if it wasn't, it was at the very least extremely insensitive given what he already knows about her. There's no reason for him to be surprised at her reaction to him, but for some reason he is. So then Yvette goes to see Doogie at the hospital for some reason. There's a guy that Doogie is sewing stitches. He was in some kind of bike accident or something. He's sewing stitches in his knee. The guy sees Yvette, makes this like super rude, inappropriate comment about her, and that pisses Doogie off for some reason.
Whoa, she's bigger than the truck that ran me off the road.
Ouch!
Sorry, the Novocaine must be wearing off.
And he gets really rough with his stitches because, you know, that's totally the moral thing to do as a physician. Just like, this patient said something I don't like. I'm going to make things more painful. At the core of it, it's so freaking hypocritical of him to be mad about some comment that this random stranger made when he already referred to her as a planet.
Your cousin is a planet.
And was super rude to Wanda because she didn't know that her cousin was overweight. It's the same thing with Doogie as it is with Vinnie. They want to be seen as is the good guy and non-judgmental, but they are. Just because he gets mad because someone else makes a comment, but it's fine if he does. He can like make whatever fat jokes about her that he wants, but someone else does it. You watch your mouth, buddy. I'll sew these stitches real good. So they go in the other room and they talk. And she says that she went, after the date with Vinnie ended badly and they fought, she went back to Wanda's house and ate everything except the lentils.
Guess you know what happened last night.
Yeah, Vinnie told me.
He didn't tell you the worst of it. After I got back to Wanda's, I started eating. A lot.
Binging.
You could call it that. All they have left is a couple cans of lentil soup.
She says that she hates herself, she's scared, and doesn't know what to do.
I hate myself. Doogie, I'm scared. I don't know what to do.
Firstly, the implication that everybody is overweight because of overeating is just ridiculous and stupid. It's like, just knock the fork out of your mouth and you won't be fat. Problem solved. I'm not saying that diet doesn't play a role for people who struggle with their weight. And for someone like this girl who clearly has an eating disorder, who binge eats when they're stressed, like that obviously could be a real problem. As someone who has dealt with eating disorders myself, I can sympathize with that. But that's not the case for everybody. And for me personally, I would argue that it's not necessarily just about how much you eat, it's about what you eat. Healthy eating habits are hard to form. And there are people with hormonal imbalances and things like that who eat healthy but still struggle with their weight. And in this situation, I really don't think that Doogie understands what the actual issue is here. And that's why he doesn't learn from this situation. He goes on to ask her,
Have you tried to lose weight?
as though the concept of trying to lose weight would just be lost on her, just totally foreign. Clearly the writers are like, this is what the issue is, and Doogie's like nailed it, because then she responds with,
Once, when I was 12, I lost a little, but then I blew it. I never tried again.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to stay fat than to risk being rejected.
It's a weird, unrealistic representation. I've never heard of anyone who struggles with their weight that they tried once and then gave up years ago. Everyone I've ever met that struggled with their weight has tried over and over and over and over again with a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to try to lose weight. The show acts like it's just revolutionary for him to just bring up the idea of potentially losing weight to her, like, which is just astronomically absurd. Then Doogie says, sometimes it's easier to stay fat than to face rejection. That had nothing to do with this conversation. And what is the implication here? That she's fat on purpose to drive people away? How did he make that assumption based on the limited information that he has? And that's also not the case at all. She has mentioned multiple times in the episode up to this point that she's been rejected over and over again. Then Doogie goes on to say that Vinnie didn't reject her.
I get rejected plenty, believe me. Just ask your pal Vinnie.
Hey, from what he says, he didn't reject you. You scared him off.
He hates me.
He doesn't hate you. You hate you.
And this is where all the stuff that I was talking about previously, that the episode was like trying to imply that it was her fault, not Vinnie's, is absolutely 100% incorrect in my opinion. Vinnie was disgusted by her. He cringed when she asked him on a second date, and he rejected her on their second date and then tried to make it seem like it was her fault, which is super manipulative.
The cramp in my lungs. I can't breathe.
Vinnie was pretending to be into her and leading her on because he didn't want to seem like other guys. He wanted to come across like he was the nice guy, he was the white knight, and he wasn't like everyone else. When in reality, he just was keeping it inside. Well, some of the time. So then Doogie says that he'll set her up with a program to help her lose weight, as though that's going to just fix her issue.
What if I found you a good doctor who could get you into a program? Would you try it?
What's the point? I'd probably just screw it up.
They've already established that she's binge eating. Now, this probably has to do with stress or whatever else is going on in her life, and possibly a bunch of other issues that haven't even been addressed in this conversation. It all sounds to me like she has a mental health issue that she needs help with. And Doogie doesn't address that at all. Neither does Vinnie when she has a conversation with him later about it. Why, as a physician, did he not try to talk about that or recommend that she get some help from a mental health professional? She then goes on a rant about how she hates herself.
I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm ashamed to look at myself in the mirror. What's not to hate?
And instead of reassuring her that she has value regardless of her weight or how she looks, he instead just reaffirms his standpoint that she just needs to make a commitment to this weight loss program. Doogie is actually the worst doctor imaginable in this situation.
But you gotta make a commitment. A big one.
Hey, Big is my middle name.
If she just loses weight and doesn't work on the mental health issues, it's only going to come back later and possibly worse because she didn't deal with any of the underlying things that are causing these issues in her life. Doogie has like an altercation with the plastic surgeon that worked on the other patient who had body dysmorphia and keeps getting these surgeries, and because he told her she didn't need them and it caused all of this drama. He talks about how she needs to see a psychiatrist, that she needs help, that he's worried about her. The things that he says about this other patient are things that he should have been thinking and saying about Wanda's cousin.
She's got a lousy self-image, and all the surgery in the world's not gonna solve her problems, and you know that. This woman needs help.
And why he doesn't see that when it's right in front of his face is just mind-blowing. He sees a person who's skinny and doesn't need to lose weight, who wants to lose weight, as someone who has a mental health issue. Then he sees the fat girl as someone who just needs to lose weight. And then his journal, at the end of the episode, the moral that he learned, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Maybe we all need to spend less time beholding and we'd be happier, or something along those lines. What the hell is he talking about? Stop looking at fat people and then you won't need to shame them. Is that the lesson he learned? Because I really don't think he learned anything. I know I've been kind of hard on the show. I've been a bit harsh and I've been angry, but I really like the show. I always liked Doogie Howser, and it was just really, really disappointing to watch this back, you know, as an adult and see the character that I really like be such an insensitive jerk, and frankly not even being a good doctor by just normal moral standards. All right, so that's where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Doogie Howser Season 1, Episode 9. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have Hulu, go check out the episode. Let me know what you think. Am I overreacting? Am I reading too much into this? Or do you agree? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I appreciate you. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye-bye. Yeah. This is the end of the video. Like and subscribe.
Well, I can't make myself taller, but you can do something about being fat.
And I'm going to. In fact, the next time you see me, I'll be slim enough to ooze through Cher's body stocking.
I like those words.
And I'm gonna come back to see you.
I'm liking that even better.
And you're gonna want me.
They can't be together because she's fat and has to go to this program. They take fat people away to Fat Island to get them out of circulation so that they don't have to be a part of regular society. They don't have to look at them. They don't have to behold them like Doogie was talking about. So they don't have to be beholdered. So stupid. All right, what other 80s show can I destroy?